Standard 6, Subject English, Unit 4.6, The Phantom Tollbooth, a Book Review. The Phantom Tollbooth, children's fantasy adventure novel written by Norton Juster. He's the author of The Phantom Tollbooth, and illustrations by Jules Pfeiffer. This is Jules Pfeiffer. He is the cartoonist or the illustrator of this novel, The Phantom Tollbooth. The Phantom Tollbooth is a children's fantasy adventure novel written by Norton Juster with illustration by Jules Pfeiffer, published in 1961 by Random House, USA. It tells the story of a bored young boy named Milo who unexpectedly receives a magic toll booth one afternoon and, having nothing better to do, drives through it in his toy car, transporting him to the kingdom of wisdom, once prosperous but now troubled. There he acquires two faithful companions and goes on a quest or search to restore to the kingdom its exiled princesses named Rhyme and Reason from the castle in the air. In the process, he learns valuable lessons, finding a love of learning. Let us read this lesson, The Phantom Tollbooth, a Book Review. The meaning of phantom is a ghost. Tollbooth, a small place or building by the side of the road where you make a payment to drive on a road, bridge, etc. Milo was a young boy who lived in San Francisco in the States. He lacked for nothing. The meaning of lacked for nothing, the phrase here, had everything he wanted. Being an only child at home, he was surrounded by all sorts of expensive toys, all kinds of expensive toys. In school too, there was nothing that he could complain about. But Milo was bored. Nothing really interested him. He thought of everything as a waste of time, and school as the greatest waste of time of all. Poor Milo! There's nothing for me to do, nowhere I'd care to go, and hardly anything worth seeing, he thought. You must have guessed by now that Milo belonged to an age when TV, video games, and computers were not invented. So this is the story of a young boy, Milo, who lived in San Francisco in the States, and he lacked for nothing. Lacked for nothing is had everything he wanted. He was the only child at home and was surrounded by all sorts of expensive toys. In school too, there was nothing that he could complain about, but Milo was thoroughly bored. Nothing really interested him. He thought everything as a waste of time, and school was the greatest waste of time of all. He thought that there's nothing for him to do, nowhere he could go, and hardly anything worth seeing. But on one long afternoon like any other, Milo suddenly received a huge parcel with a bright blue envelope attached to one side. The envelope was addressed to him. For Milo, who has plenty of time. Wouldn't you be surprised if something like this happened to you? So was Milo. I don't think it's my birthday, he puzzled, and Christmas must be months away. And I haven't been outstandingly good or even good at all. Milo was an honest boy, so he admitted the last bit to himself. He couldn't return the parcel. There was no sender's address on it. So, just in order to be polite, Milo decided to open the envelope. One genuine turnpike toll booth. It was written inside, easily assembled at home and for use by those who have never traveled in lands beyond. In this paragraph, we learn that one afternoon Milo received a huge parcel with a bright blue envelope. This is the envelope attached to one side. The envelope was addressed to him. Wouldn't you be surprised, children, if something like this happened to you? So was also Milo. Milo was surprised to receive this huge parcel. And he thought that it wasn't his birthday for him to receive a parcel. He was puzzled. Nor was it Christmas. Christmas was months away. Generally, we receive gifts on Christmas. So Christmas was months away, and Milo was puzzled that since it is months away, how come he has received a parcel? Moreover, he was not outstandingly good. He was not good at all. He was very honest to admit this last bit to himself. Generally, we receive gifts from our parents when we are also good. So Milo was honest to himself, and he says that he wasn't outstandingly good, so there's no way he could receive a gift. He wanted to return the parcel, but he couldn't return the parcel as there was no sender's address. So in order to be polite, Milo decided to open the envelope. And it was written, one genuine turnpike toll booth. Genuine is real. Turnpike is a wide road which you have to pay a toll to use. And the meaning of toll booth, a small place, building by the side of the road where you make a payment to drive on a road or bridge. Inside it was written that this turnpike toll booth could easily be assembled at home and for use by those who have never traveled in lands beyond. Like you, Milo was also intrigued by the words lands beyond. There was also a list of the contents. It contained 1. Genuine turnpike toll booth to be erected according to directions. 3. Precautionary signs to be used in a precautionary fashion. Assorted coins for use in paying tolls. 1. Map up to date and carefully drawn by master cartographers depicting natural and man-made features. 1. Book of rules and traffic regulations which may not be bent or broken. And in smaller letters at the bottom it concluded, results are not guaranteed. But if not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded. Because Milo had nothing else to do, he followed the directions and erected the toll booth. It was a proper booth with windows and a roof and a coin box. The meaning of the word intrigued is very interested or curious. So Milo was intrigued or he was interested and curious by the words. It said lands beyond. There were also a list of contents. Genuine turnpike toll booth. You know the meaning of toll booth, a building by the side of the road where you make a payment to drive on a road or a bridge. We know we have a toll booths also on expressways where you pay the toll and you proceed ahead. So this turnpike toll booth had to be erected according to directions. There were precautionary signs which had to be used in a very precautionary fashion. Assorted coins that had to be used in paying tolls. There was also a map. The map was up to date, which was drawn by cartographers. A cartographer is a person who draws or makes maps. The meaning of assorted is of various different sorts. So there were assorted coins. For paying toll, there was a map which was up to date and it was drawn by master cartographers, a person who draws or makes maps depicting natural and man-made features. We know what are the natural features, like there could be a plateau or a mountain. Man-made features, the bridges or the buildings that are there, those are the man-made features. Then there was also a book of rules and traffic regulations which hadn't to be bent or broken. In smaller letters at the bottom it concluded that results are not guaranteed, but if the person is not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded. If you feel that going to that land beyond would be a waste of time, then your time will be refunded. We know that Milo had nothing else to do, and therefore he followed the directions and erected the toll booth. It was a proper booth with windows and a roof and a coin box. But what's the use? Thought Milo. There was no highway attached to the booth. Nevertheless, Milo set up the precautionary signs, unfolded the map, and chose a destination. He chose it at random because he had never heard of any of the places shown on the map, and so one was as good as any other. Milo was not sure that this new game would turn out to be interesting. However, he sat in his toy car, approached the booth, paid the toll with the coins, and drove past the toll booth. But when he looked back, oh, wonder of wonders! The toll booth had disappeared along with Milo's room and even his house. He found himself speeding down a highway into an unknown territory. What happened next is the story of Norton Juster's novel, The Phantom Toll Booth. Though Milo didn't know it then, he had begun his journey in the land of expectations. He was in the kingdom of wisdom. He had many adventures there. He had to rescue the princess Rhyme and Reason from castles of air. Here in this paragraph, we learn that Milo thought that there was no highway attached to the booth. Nevertheless, he set up the precautionary signs, unfolded the map, and he selected a destination or a place. He chose it at random. At random is without any reason or without deciding in advance. He chose it at random because he had never heard of any of those places shown on the map. Those places were all new to him. So one was as good as any other because he had not heard about those places. Milo was not sure that this new game would turn out to be interesting. He sat in his toy car, approached the booth, paid the toll. The toll is the money that you pay to use a particular road or a bridge. Children, you are aware of toll booths. We also have them on expressways. We pay the money and then we can use that expressway. So he paid the toll and drove past the toll booth. He looked back and wonder of wonders, the toll booth disappeared along with Milo's room and even his house. He found himself speeding down a highway into an unknown territory. What happens next is the story of Norton Juster's novel, The Phantom Toll Booth. So children, you have to read this story, The Phantom Toll Booth, to know exactly about Milo's adventure in these unknown territories, in this land of expectations. He also visits a kingdom of wisdom. Kingdom of wisdom, a place where people are wise and get wisdom. He visits the land of expectation, that is a place where you go with high hopes of getting something. Milo had a number of adventures in these unknown territories or in these places that he visited. He had to rescue the princesses Rhyme and Reason. We know the meaning of rhyme, words that end with the same sound. Reason, cause of something or explanation of something, from castles of air. Castles of air is also a phrase. So you have to read this book, The Phantom Toll Booth. It is the story by Norton Juster. Please pay attention to the author's name in your textbook. It is Norman Juster. It is not Norman, it is Norton Juster. So this is Norton Juster's story, The Phantom Toll Booth. So children, you have to read in order to find out Milo's adventure in these unknown territories or in these places that he visits. Children, this is a highlighted paragraph in your textbook where Milo meets the Lethargians when he was in the doldrums. The Lethargians spent all their time in daydreaming and taking naps. They dwaddle and they delay. They bide their time, they linger and loiter. They put off for tomorrow what they could do today. They loaf and launch, they dilly-dally, and yet they complain that such a busy schedule leaves them almost no time for brooding, lagging, plodding, or procrastinating. Children, we know that Milo paid the toll booth and he drove past it, and when he looked back, wonder of wonders, the toll booth disappeared along with Milo's room and his house, and he found himself speeding down a highway into an unknown territory. And as he passes this toll booth, his adventure is underway. He begins his adventure. He, as usual, does not pay much attention and therefore takes the wrong road, and he ends up in a place called the doldrums. The place doldrums is a place where nothing happens in this storybook, The Phantom Toll Booth. Now the scenery becomes grey and less colorful. It's boring and monotonous. Milo's car stops and refuses to go further. Even the cars are lazy in the doldrums. So here in this place, the doldrums, Milo meets the lethargians. The very fact lethargy. Lethargy means lazy. So these lethargians spent all their time daydreaming and taking naps. They dwaddle. The meaning of dwaddle is to take long time to do something. And they bide their time. They linger and loiter. Loiter is hang around for no reason. They put off for tomorrow. They procrastinate. What they can do today, they put it off for tomorrow. They loaf and they lounge. The meaning of loafing is same as loiter, to just hang around, to roam about for no rhyme or reason. And they laze around, lounge. They dilly-dally. Dilly-dally is to waste time through aimless indecision. And they still complain that they have such a busy schedule that leaves them with no time for brooding. Brooding is to think a lot about something that makes you anxious or annoyed. Plodding, no time for plodding, walking slowly with heavy step, and no time for even procrastinating, that is delaying something that you should do today. So Milo meets these people, the lethargians. They are lazy and lethargic people. So this was one of his adventure, and there are a number of other adventures. He meets a number of other people and places that he visits in this story, The Phantom Toll Booth. Was he successful in his mission? Who were the strange people and creatures he met there? What happened to the toll booth? Did Milo see it again? Did Milo find his life interesting later on? You must read the novel to find it out. The novel, The Phantom Toll Booth, was written more than 50 years ago, but it continues to be a classic of children's literature. It is a fantasy, but it has an important message for children all over the world. It has helped them to look at their school and studies in a new light. We know that Milo paid the toll with the coins and drove past the toll booth. And when he looked back, wonder of wonders, the toll booth disappeared along with Milo's room and even his house. And he found himself speeding down a highway into an unknown territory. He met strange people and creatures. You have to read the novel The Phantom Toll Booth in order to know whether Milo was successful in his mission. We know that he had to rescue the princesses Rhyme and Reason from castles of air. So you have to read the novel in order to find out whether Milo was successful in his mission. Who were the strange people and creatures he met? What happened to the toll booth? Did he see it again? Did Milo find his life interesting later on? We know that Milo was very bored with his life. He felt that he had nothing to do. So you have to read the novel to find out whether Milo found his life interesting later on. So read the novel The Phantom Toll Booth, written by Norton Juster, and the illustrator or the cartoonist was Jules Pfeiffer. This novel, The Phantom Toll Booth, was written more than 50 years ago, but it continues to be a classic of children's literature. It is a fantasy, but it has an important message for children all over the world. It has helped children to look at their school and studies in a new light. Let's discuss the questions and answers. Which book is introduced in the passage? The book The Phantom Tollbooth is introduced in the passage. Where does the story take place? The story takes place in San Francisco in the States. Who is the main character in the story? A small boy called Milo is the main character in the story. Why is the toll booth called the Phantom Toll Booth? The toll booth is called the Phantom Toll Booth because, like a ghost, it disappears after Milo has passed it. When was the book written? The book was written more than 50 years ago. Who has written the book? Norton Juster has written the book. The author of the book is Norton Juster.